Hi, I'm Vince Giordano, Executive Director of the New Jersey Education Association. NJEA is committed to celebrating excellence in education. That's why we're proud to support Teacher Appreciation Week, a special series produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation celebrating New Jersey's talented and dedicated teachers.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, working for great public schools for every child. Wells Fargo, the law firm of Gibbons PC, PSC&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. And by Barnabas Health.
This is One-on-One.
That's good acting, man.
I get that a lot. I go to Atlantic City all the time, like, are you the guy? I go, no, I'm not.
This is one you can't afford to miss.
They thought that I wouldn't survive it, but I knew I would.
Hey, I'm Steve Adubato. This is One-on-One. This is part of our Classroom Close-Up series, done in cooperation with our partners at the New Jersey Education Association, otherwise known as the NJEA. You're about to meet one of our colleagues. 44 years as a science teacher. I do not believe it. Yeah. Mr. Sy, the science guy, otherwise known as Albert Siedlecki, who is a science teacher at Medford Memorial Middle School. Mr. Siedlecki, I apologize for that. I got to tell you, first of all, I don't buy the fact you've been doing this for 44 years. No way.
It's amazing makeup artist that you have out there.
No, what do you love about this gig?
I've never had two days that were the same, ever. Can you imagine that? You interview people, you can tell there's a different personality with every single individual.
That's right.
Kids have the same thing times 10. It's amazing. No matter if you have the same schedule or not, the personalities, the things that happen every day, it's just a different chemical mix of intellectual and curious things that happen constantly. It's what do you call a continuum of education. It never stops.
You ready? Sorry for interrupting you. I'm a great interviewer, but I interrupt sometimes. You ready?
Yeah.
You're about to see a video of yourself doing your thing, part of the Classroom Close-Up series that right now can be seen on our NJTV network with our partners at NJEA producing it. This is Mr. Sy, the science guy, on video. Let's go to it.
We lift 5 newtons with 1 newton of force. So what's the mechanical advantage? 5 divided by 1.
For nearly 40 years, Albert Siedlecki has taught science to middle school students. Most of those years have been spent here at Medford Township Memorial Middle School, where he's affectionately known as Mr. Sy.
Remember, it's very important that you observe carefully what happens.
Throughout his career, Mr. Sy has touched many of his students' lives by using a hands-on learning approach and also challenging them to always do their best. But he never realized how much he meant to some of these kids until he received a phone call from a former student.
The secretary said it's not another teacher, it's not the school nurse, it's a doctor from the Dallas-Fort Worth area who adamantly wants to speak to you right this minute. And she said, it's a Dr. Bono. And I said, Lee Bono. I said, Lee, what's going on? I said, what are you calling me for?
Lee was one of Mr. Sy's students from the mid-'80s, and since then has become a noted neurosurgeon.
I was operating a judge. The judge, I had to do what's called an awake craniotomy, where I'm doing a brain procedure on someone who's awake because the tumor is in their motor area of speech. The judge had difficulty speaking, and after the surgery was finished, he could speak, and he was crying. And the wife was crying as well, and I was at the bedside. He said, you make sure that you thank Mr. Sy. He didn't really use Mr. Sy's name, but the person, that teacher that you had, make sure you thank him for the inspiration to be here.
He called me. It changed the way I looked at every student from that phone call on. It was a life-changing phone call. And I said, why would you call me? He said, do you remember that day after school? I took the brain and spinal cord out of the frog. You told me it was the best one you'd ever seen.
He said to me, you know, you got the hands of a surgeon, you're a smart, bright boy, and you could be a surgeon. You could be a brain surgeon if you wanted to. I remember that. I remember that clearly. You could be a brain surgeon. And that is a very important thing, especially when you're 13 years old. Because if you didn't think that, or if you had no idea you even wanted to be a brain surgeon, now that pops into your head. After that, I really realized I wanted to be a brain surgeon, and so I did it. Had he not said that, maybe it wouldn't have happened. But it's very important for an educator not only teach their lessons, but to help shape the young mind. And he wasn't just coming to work to make a paycheck. He was coming to work to do his life's work. Look at you, look at you, you're a man.
There's your paycheck right there.
How does that make you feel?
Oh man, it's amazing. And I'm lucky most of the teachers don't get recognition like that, but they deserve it. I've been around the rodeo for 44 years. Have I really seen ever a bad teacher? Never. I've never seen a bad teacher, and I look for them. I've never really seen anybody who was not dedicated to going to the most private place a person has. That's their mind. You get to go into a mind and make footprints in their snow for the first time, and those footprints develop into, well, surgeons, good doctors, lawyers, attorneys, hopefully good governors sometime, and presidents of the United States. It all comes from some interaction that they had with teachers. Now, am I a good teacher or a bad teacher? I'm a composite of all the teachers and all the students that I've ever taught, and that makes me what I am today. And I'm blessed that I have had the experiences that I've had.
But you know, I gotta ask you this. 44 years. There's no mandatory, right? Retirement?
55 usually. I'm 66 now, so I'm hoping I'm going to peak soon, you know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. But when you see Lee Bono like that, you know, and you see that video, again, thanks to our partners at the NJEA for producing Classroom Close-Up. And I don't know how they decided to pick Mr. Sy. I'm glad they did. When you see that, and you think of all the other kids that, you know, they can't find, or, you know you've had some impact on, what possible reason would you ever want to stop?
My wife and I talk about this. Kathy, my wife's the wind beneath my wings, often. And if I'm going to stop, it's going to be a tragic adaptation in my life. Ever since I was small, it's hard to believe this, but I've been asked this in interviews, and I know the question is, why did you become a teacher? Ever since I was little, when I was 9, I had 6-year-old kids follow me around my neighborhood. When I was 14, I had 9-year-old kids follow me around my neighborhood. And dogs. It was little kids and dogs that always followed me around. In college, I realized I was in pre-med. My dad worked in a shipyard. At my age in college, my father was already working 3 years, stopped, went into World War II. He got out of World War II, I was there. I felt guilty having to go more to college. So I decided, you know, what can I do? I'm going to teach. And it took me a long time to get to where I am. Once every 44 years, you can figure you're going to get some recognition. And I've finally achieved that so far, but I still haven't peaked. You know?
I'll tell you what. You honor your profession. And for every Lee Bono that you see in a video like that, I have a feeling there are countless other people whose lives you've affected, and you honor your colleagues by being here, and you honor us here on public television. Thank you, Mr. Sy.
You're welcome.
Good job.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org and visit us online at oneonone.org.
There he is, Frank Castella, who is instructor of biological science and culinology program at Bergen County Technical School in Teterboro. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Steve.
What the heck is culinology?
Culinology is the discipline to blending of culinary arts and food science. The term culinology was actually trademarked by the Research Chefs Association, the RCA. It's a group of chefs that were also researchers and combined the two disciplines into one.
Interesting. You're a former chiropractor, became a biology teacher.
Yes.
This is part of our classroom close-up
Yes,
series that we do in cooperation with the New Jersey Education Association. I'm fascinated by this, but before we talk anymore in the studio, what's always great is we have these setup pieces that the NJEA produces, classroom close-up on NJTV. It tells a story way better than I ever could. We'll go to the video, and we'll go back and talk to Frank.
Whenever you think about the healing process, it's important to consider the part nutrition plays. And if you're going to talk about food, here's a great place to start. Don't be fooled, this is not the kitchen at your favorite restaurant. We're at Bergen County Technical High School, and these students are hard at work creating nutritious dishes that they've designed to please the palates of pediatric cancer patients.
When you hear about people with cancer, you can really feel how bad it must be for them. So we just, as cliche as it might sound, we just pour our heart and soul kind of into it as best as we can.
Knowing that we're helping people that are in need, and it just makes you feel better about yourself.
On average, for every 10,000 children in the United States, 1 or 2 develop cancer each year. But today, nearly 80% of children diagnosed with cancer become long-term survivors. With so many kids undergoing treatment, there's a real need for a variety of appealing menu items.
Children with cancer don't eat very well during therapy. It's hard for some of them to eat, and they don't choose the right foods, and it's always an issue.
So Hackensack University Medical Center teamed up with Culinology students from Bergen County Technical High School to develop this comforting cuisine.
So tell me about what you've already made here and how we're going to make some more of them.
Well, right now we have chips and dip, and the dip, it incorporates all of the nutritional groups.
Collaboration is an essential ingredient. Marketing students at Bergen County Academies are working on the business side.
We take whatever products they give us and we figure out how to sell it, what possible costs are, where to put the product in stores, whether in the hospital, and things like that.
We're looking at potential markets, different just distribution channels, just getting the product from the kitchen to the stores.
Another partner is Rutgers University, providing guidance throughout the process.
You can, of course, do a lot of trial and error and get there, but if you have the science background, then you know why, and you can get there much faster. So that's why the science kind of helps you guide there much faster.
What inspired you to do this? What are you getting out of this?
That good feeling that you know that you're actually helping someone, like besides yourself, and just helping out someone else in this world. It's just a magical feeling.
We get to be creative, and we get to express ourselves within the food that we're making.
And this is our way of reaching out to them, you know? Letting them know, like, we're your age, but we want to help you.
Knowing that you're going to help kids too kind of just gave us like the mojo, like it pushed us even harder to create something.
It's really good. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm going to leave about 400 calories here with you, all right?
Understandable.
That's fascinating stuff. Let's update some things here, Frank. In 2009, you were diagnosed with multiple myeloma. Explain what that is.
Multiple myeloma is an incurable blood cancer that affects the plasma cells, which produce our antibodies. I was diagnosed in February 2009, went through extensive chemotherapy, 2 stem cell transplants, was out of work for about 6 months. I'm in remission right now. Every 2 months, go get checked, and hope right now everything's stable. So,
but there's a connection between that, let's just say, very challenging life experience, and you guys are creating food. There was a food project for oncology patients.
Yes.
I'm thinking this guy's creative.
Well, the idea behind this project we're working on now, about a little over a year ago, our administration came to us and they wanted to do a collaborative project between the Culinology students in Teterboro, which is the campus I'm at, and our sister school in Hackensack, the Bergen Academies. And the project entailed the Culinology students coming up with some kind of unique product or a line of products that could be marketed, and the students in Hackensack were enrolled in an entrepreneurship project.
Right.
And they would be doing market research and developing and advising the students, the culinology students, as far as feasibility of these products, packaging and competition and so on. And when the teachers in the program met and we talked about different ideas, it was not too long after I had returned back to work. And I remember going through the experience of chemo and the transplants, and any chemo patient that you talk to will tell you the same thing. The nausea, the mouth sores that some patients develop, just the general fatigue that you have, that you have no desire to want to eat.
Are there some foods that make more sense than others in in such a difficult situation?
Well, yes and no. When you're in that setting in the hospital or in the transplant center, they're going to just tell you to, especially when you're going for transplant, eat anything that has to be cooked very well. So you have to stay away from any fruits and vegetables that are raw, which you would think would be good for you, but because of the chance of any bacteria or anything like that, you have to stay away because your immune system is compromised. And quite frankly, the food that they serve in the hospital is not the most palatable food to begin with. So, reflecting back on that when I came back to school and this idea was proposed to us, I said, why don't we talk to the students about coming up with some kind of food product that not only has the calories that the patients do need for energy, but is nutritious, properly balanced, and tastes good.
What'd you come up with?
Well, the students came up with 7 different items. We have 21 the students in this project. Okay, the students in this project there's 21 students. They're juniors in the program. They have 7 groups. They all came up with different products. They did their own research on cancer and how it affects the body, how chemo affects them, and they all came up with different products. And you're seeing some of them now. We have a butternut pot pie, some raspberry carrot ice cream, tater tots that are called shakeables that have like a fun food, because this project is really geared more towards pediatric cancer patients because the students could relate better to other kids their age. And you've seen some of the other ones on there as well. So there were 7 different products. We actually have it narrowed down to about 3 right now that they're going to try.
This project is ongoing?
It's still ongoing, yes.
What has this meant for you?
It's been great to see how kids can take this idea, something that affected me personally, and just run with it. I mean, we just proposed an idea to them, and they said, look, they did their own research. They've been great. I mean, and just to see the passion that they put into it. I mean, so what they created, I mean, it just knocked me out when I saw them as well. I mean, it's just amazing stuff.
Well, to see your passion as a teacher, by the way, former chiropractor, you're probably good at that. You're even better at this. Frank, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Great job.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org and visit us online at oneonone.org.
You're looking at Stacy Colon, a math teacher at Burlington City High School. Stacy, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
This is part of our Classroom Close-Up series we're doing in cooperation with our partners and friends at the New Jersey Education Association. Before we see this clip, wait a minute, you're using Survivor in the classroom, the reality series?
Absolutely.
I thought it was a misprint.
No,
what are you
absolutely.
doing?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the show, and I am always trying new things. You have to stay alive and to stay fresh in education. And one year, I was talking about the show with a friend of mine who also teaches there, and we're talking about how wonderful it was because it stays fresh and it's innovative and it's always new, and that's what we need in education. And it just kind of dawned on us one day that, we should do this in class. And so we do. We run challenges in class. It stays all year long. It's a great motivator. And we just incorporate a lot of stuff into different challenges.
You ready to see a video clip to make it real?
I am.
Let's go to Classroom Close-Up. It speaks for itself.
Believe it or not, these students are preparing for the high school proficiency assessment in math by competing in a Survivor-themed competition. This is about as close to the way it works on the show as you can get in the classroom.
All right, first question. Survivor on television is a reality show. About 20 or 30 castaways are shipped out to some exotic locations, and they get put into anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 tribes, and they'll have challenges. Sorry, that's a miss. I'm a huge fan of the show. And there's another teacher here who is also a big fan of the show, and every day we'd always come in and talk about Survivor. And one day we were like, we should do that in class. In the beginning of the year, we randomly make tribes. And what happens is every week or so they come in and there's some challenge set up. And the answer is? 4. 4. Let's start with the red tribe this time. Where do you want to go?
F4. F4.
F4.
Oh!
You hit another boat, you can go again.
E6.
That's a hit. E3. And with that, we took out one of the green team's boats.
But as in life and school, the tide can turn suddenly. And by the end of this round, the red tribe had lost, which meant that they had to vote one of their own off the island.
Sorry, I have to do this.
Even if you're voted out, you're still in the game. And then just like in the show, at the end, you vote. And I remind him of that constantly. I'm like, you have to vote someone out. Be careful. At the end, these people are voting for the winner. So the kids are aware of that, and it kind of helps them with their social skills. They're very competitive in nature, and as soon as we found that out, I mean, we just completely took advantage of that. And they're having fun in math class. The nice thing about this is it doesn't become, mean-spirited competition. It's always fun.
All we need to do is find the height, and then we'll have it.
Is it unit squared? I see 1, 2, 3, 4 A's. Very good. It is A.
It integrates everything we learn in geometry or any of Miss Cologne's classes into a fun way so that it makes us look forward to it. And sometimes a lot of kids actually study for this so that we can get the questions right, because it's so much fun just to try and beat out other kids in your class.
You can see immediately who the competitive kids are, and you pull them aside and you go, I love the energy, I love the competition, I don't want you to hold it back. You do know that you have to be very nice in this game to win, and in this class to do well. I've had classes that did not function well in other situations that do beautifully in Survivor. So I'm very proud of these students.
How much fun you having?
I have so much fun. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I do it. I mean, Survivor and teaching in general, because it's a lot of work, and the Survivor's a lot of work. I mean, it's not an easy thing to put together, but it is so much fun for the kids, and it is so much fun as a teacher to do that, and to be able to go home and say, I had so much fun with my kids today, and they learned so much.
You call them your kids?
I call them my kids all the time. In fact, a lot of people ask me if I have kids because I'm telling stories about my students, and I say my kids. I'm like, oh, my kids were making fun of me today. And they're like, oh, you have kids? And I'm like, well, I have students. I have about 100 kids. But yeah, I do. I call them my kids. I think of them as my kids. And they're high school kids.
How hard was it convincing the establishment, the bureaucracy,
that this would work?
Yeah.
The thing is, when you're a new teacher, it may be a little bit harder, but the establishment is actually incredibly supportive, and my principal has been incredibly supportive, and he in fact is now telling other people that, you maybe should go see what Stacy's doing. There's a lot of controlled chaos in her room, and it's really working. That's what he calls it. Controlled chaos in math class is a great thing, because usually you see a little too much apathy and lack of energy on the part of the students, mostly in a math class. And the more energy you can get, even if it is through an activity like this, the more you can then feed that energy into the math. It needs the energy.
Why did you go into
teaching? He's been very supportive. Why did I go into teaching? And
did you know that you were going to use Survivor as a teaching tool?
No, I never knew I would use Survivor as a teaching tool. I couldn't have imagined it. It's crazy as a teacher. You find things in the craziest places. You're not looking for activities necessarily, and you just, I could use that. I'm going to try that next week. But I just went into teaching because I like to help people, and I think that if you're good at something, you should share it with other people. Because I think in general, the world is a collaborative place, and it survives because of our ability to work together. And this game shows that, and the way it came about between me and other teachers, talented teachers in the school, shows that. And that's really why I went into teaching. I was like, I understand math, and I love math, and I wish other people could understand why I like math and why it works for me and it's fun for me, because they just don't see it. It's not that it couldn't be for them, they just don't see it. And so I thought by going into teaching, I could help students understand that.
What do you think it does for these young men and women, as these kids, when they leave?
I think it's great for them because, and I can't pretend that I knew this going into it, but it's done so much more than I thought. I thought it would just be a more interesting way to review and practice, because that can be repetitive and boring in a math class if you're not careful. And it's done so much more because they are so much better at collaboration and cooperative learning because of this. They're developing social skills that they desperately need in some cases, because this is their motivator to want to develop the social skills as opposed to maybe a normal project. And it's teaching them to want to learn because they want to learn to do well in these challenges. And it's just basically, it's pushing their academic, it's pushing their social, and it's pushing their problem solving, which is a huge thing in the young generations.
All right, 1 to 10. We've got a few seconds left. On the scale from 1 to 10, how much do you love your work as an educator?
As an educator, I absolutely love it. It's a 10.
Come on, 1 to 10. You're
10.
a math person.
10. Oh, I would go over, but 10.
You'd go over 10?
With these kids, yes. It's great. It's great. They're so much fun. It's so great to see the thanks almost in their eyes for caring about them and for helping.
You're a role model for all of us, especially educators.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, working for great public schools for every child. Wells Fargo, the law firm of Gibbons PC, PSC&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. And by Barnabas Health. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.
Education reform is too important to get wrong. That's why NJEA's plan establishes a strong evaluation process that identifies excellent teachers, removes ineffective ones, and ensures hiring and firing is based on performance, not politics or standardized tests that are unfair to students and teachers. We all want the best teachers in every classroom, because when it comes to education reform, NJEA believes students come first. NJEA, great public schools for every child.